You are now listening to the Dust Jet
All right,
Podcast.
so today we got a very special guest. It's I appreciate this man for letting me sit down and pick his brain a little bit. We got Ken from Ken Finesse Media. He's out. He has a good podcast that my wife brought to my attention, and man, he legit. I mean, he bringing a lot of good interviews, a lot of good insight. So I seen him working, and I just reached out to him, and hey, he accepted, and we're here. So hey, Ken, thanks for coming, and let me pick your brain a little bit.
Most deaf, man. Thank you for having me, brother. It's not often I'm doing interviews about the podcast or about any of the things I got going on, man. So it's definitely an honor and grateful to be here and to share with your audience, man, and chop it up with you for a few minutes.
Oh yeah, man. So one reason, of course, we both went to school on the yard in Pine Bluff. So
There you go. You see, I'm representing the
yeah,
background.
yeah.
I'm
Hey,
representing background.
hey, you got to fool with your golden lines a little bit. So, especially when you see him doing some positive things, like you're out here doing and you're putting out to the world, I feel like you just gotta reach out and tell somebody, if nothing else, tell, hey man, I like what you're doing, so that's why I wanted to reach out to you for sure. But for those of you who may not know Ken, a young man from Chicago, Illinois, came down to Arkansas. And if you don't mind me asking, what made you coming from Chicago, a big city? I mean, Chicago, you could do everything you probably want to in Chicago.
Yeah.
What made you come to Arkansas and come to a HBCU?
Well, that's it. That's it, Jeff. I mean, you can do a lot in Chicago, man. I'm from the south side of Chicago, so born and raised Inglewood. So, but you can't do everything in Chicago, particularly like march in a historically black college marching band. You can't, do that in Chicago. So, that's how I, got there. I went on a music scholarship. So my major is business administration with a concentration in marketing. That was my degree, but I went initially on a music scholarship, played in the band, played saxophone, and my high school. So just to kind of unpack the story a little bit, I went down during my high school, I think junior year, maybe junior year, and it was homecoming for Pine Bluff, man, and we marched the parade, and then we went to the homecoming game the following day or that same day, man, and I saw the band. I'm like, wow, like this is crazy, this band right up front, playing. And I just said, man, I told my mom, I'm coming down. I'm going to this risk because I never been to Arkansas. I never had been in the South, which was another thing. 75 degrees in November, and being from Chicago, it was snow, when I left home. So when I arrived in Arkansas and felt the weather, the people were good, the energy was great. So yeah, definitely, man. I had no other alma mater or high or college in mind for sure. I went back and started immediately connecting with different people at the university to make sure that I can get the scholarship and get the audition tape in time. I was the band scholarship, so I assisted four other people along that journey. So five of us actually. We had a trunk party. You call that, right when you leave. We had this
Mm.
big trunk party in the public park in Chicago. All five of us, and all of our parents supported us going down to Pine Bluff. We were all band members. So we went down and we kicked butt. Some of them didn't stay the long haul of it all, but yeah, I went down there initially with the band, man. So didn't stay the whole time. I think I did the band for a year. Then after that, a whole lot of other stuff happened.
Hey, being in that band, well, I don't think only the people who probably been to the yard really know, but being in that band is a job.
Boy,
Like it's a real life job. Like if you see them practice, they practicing like more than the football team. It's like crazy. So
he's out there.
yeah,
He was
yeah, yeah.
all 2003. So shout out to the crab class. You know, it's home for me. Arkansas is definitely home for me. It's like my first home. I left Chicago at 17, so it really raised a man. So shout out to Arkansas, but for sure, man.
Yeah. Hey,
Man
that's
is
real.
the thing. Man
Hey,
is the thing.
being an Arkansan, I appreciate that. You know, I mean, that's real because you know, people think that we're just some little country, little hick place that we ride tractors and horses and
Man, there's a lot of diamonds in Arkansas. So listen, it definitely brought me out shining like a motherfucking light. I don't know if I can say that on your show, see, but I tell you, it definitely brought me out shining, Doc. I definitely came out shining, and
yeah, yeah.
I appreciate Arkansas.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I ain't gonna lie. I try to keep it clean, but it's all good. Hey man, hey, you feel how you feel, so it's all good, man. Hey, we just roll with it.
I got you, Doc.
So I actually watched an interview about Patrick Beverly, you know, a fellow Chicagoan. Is that what you call it, Chicagoan?
The CHICAGOAN, yeah.
All right. So, you know, he went to school in Fayetteville. So he said when he went to school in Arkansas, he had never really been around Caucasian people and he had never really saw women in heels. Would that be the same for you?
Uh, no. I'm from Chicago. Come on, like that's we're a segregated city, and it's crazy to say that being from a metropolitan place like Chicago, third largest city, we're a segregated place. But you get to still see, and you're exposed to a lot. So no, I wouldn't say going to college is my first time seeing. Did he say a woman in heels and white women?
Yeah. Well, definitely
Yeah,
for
no, it wouldn't be my first time.
yeah, definitely for sure. He said about he never really been around women wearing heels. I was like, man, that's crazy.
But what's interesting though, I will say, coming from Chicago and going to school in Arkansas, women did wear heels a lot more than women. So we in Chicago, our women wear a lot of what we say gym shoes, sneakers, kicks, whatever you want to call it. You know, I live in New York, so I can flow there or the South. But no, we wear sneakers a lot. So when
Right,
I
right.
went to Arkansas, I was like, "Yo, where are your gym shoes at?" It was like, "No, we wear heels and the makeup. Like our women don't really do all the makeup stuff like that." And that was a new thing for sure. I mean, seeing women 16, 17, 18, 19 years old pounding on makeup like more than my mom would wear. It was crazy to me.
Right, right. You know, I used to tell some, you know, some people that's from the area that's where I'm from, you know, which is I'm from Hope, you know, so it's like 2 hours from Pine Bluff. But I'm like going to school there, I was like, man, it was like a fashion show. And, you know, like every day, like I'm like these women, they dressed up going to class. You had
Yeah.
a lot of like men, they wearing two-piece suits, got the briefcase. I'm like, man, it was
Yeah, see,
crazy.
that was another thing to the contrary of that, man, saying about the women and wearing the makeup and also how they, didn't really wear gym shoes. I mean, shout out to the brothers. Man, them cats, I've never seen cats wear more polo ever in my life. I don't even know if I really truly knew about the brand polo because being in from, Chicago, we wore a lot of Davucci and Jabot and Pelly Pelly
Right.
and man, a whole bunch of other brands. But these cats in the South wore your polo boots, they had the polo hats, they had the polo shirts. And it was crazy to me when I found out the price of that stuff. I'm like, yo, that's probably like $400 just naming those things. And them cats got every color. And particularly my cats from Texas, they would wear the polo boots. And I was like, man, they were clean. And I would say in suits when it came time to dress up for, dress up Mondays or Wednesdays. I forgot the date, but them cats would dress all the time. And then me being exposed to the Greek life for the first time, seeing a lot of, and I give Kappas because that's kind of the stereotype and that was the narrative and the visual that they were giving off. So them cats was dressing up every day. Because I got some bros. I can shout out to Jimmy Jones, my bro. He's a Kappa. He's from Louisiana, but Jimmy Jones, who was in the band with me, my LB, Philip Stanford, he plays KSI. He never dressed down. He always had on clothes, and he from Dallas, Texas. So it was brothers from the South for sure who I was like, yo, I gotta step my game up because I was from that, streets where we just wearing jeans, gym shoes. We'll wear a fitted cap. We call it 150. So our cap got the clock on the top. It costs $150, and the brim of it probably got like some gator skin on it because this Chicago kind of vibing. But No,
Yeah,
that's kind of what we do. And we wear leather coats. And that was another thing. Now I brought the flavor to Pine Bluff. Shout out to that. I definitely brought that flavor. Being on campus, not many people had fur coats. So being from Chicago, you gotta have a fur coat. So I used to rock the fur coat on campus, and people definitely knew me for fur coat because yeah, when you from the shop, you need a coat.
you
That's
need a
gonna cover
real.
you up. Let me tell you, man, you definitely need that.
Keep in mind, I don't know him personally, but I've seen him around. I've always seen this tall guy in the cut with his glasses on, fresh to death. I mean, just posted up. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, man, he be fresh. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing is, just like how you were saying, some of the guys on the yard, they made you want to step your game up. And I felt the same way. I'm like, dude, I don't got no clothes like that. You know what I mean? Like, shoot, they got the suspenders with they suits. It's like I don't have none of that. And then, but the crazy thing is, you were actually one of those people. I'm like, dude, be fresh, and he keep them glasses on, and he just be posted up, chilling. You
But I'm
know?
gonna tell you, Jeff, it's small things, it's subtleties, man. It's really subtleties because again, the credit that the brothers from the South I give on their fashion, definitely. I don't even still dress like that. Like to this day, I'm still not in a two-piece or in a good polo sweater. I just that's not my vibe. But I've always figured that if you have one thing or two things, that really stands apart. Like it could be a dope watch, it could be a dope hat. For me, it was the fur coat. I had the Bluetooth. It was real subtleties that I was doing, and I realized, yeah, for sure, I was making an impact, and people were looking at me. But I'm telling you, it was taking some of the smallest things and just highlighting them. I remember, earrings. I'm paying $5 for earrings, man. But people will see it, and that's another thing. Like the South, like we're wearing big earrings from Chicago, so but I'm not spending a lot on it. I didn't even get my ears pierced until like I was 19. But it's about doing it, and as I say, finessing it, man. So you have to finesse the game, bro, and that's all I was doing. No, but I appreciate it. I
Oh
appreciate
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, it's no problem, man. Hey, just know some of us notice. If I notice, I know somebody else had to notice. So
it.
I guess the lesson in that is you never know who's watching. You know what I mean? So hey, always be on top of your game.
Mhm.
But I want to take a little step into some of the things that kind of brought us together, today, to do a little recording. So, as I was saying, I used to always see you posted up, just chilling, fresh. So to me, that kind of says, you're kind of laid back behind the scenes type of guy. So, we talked the other week, and you were telling me about some of the things that you used to do as far as your well, of course, right now the biggest thing is your finesse media group, but then you also used to do some you were a freelance publicist. So were you able to make a bunch of connections being a publicist, that kind of helps you today?
Yeah, for sure, man. Definitely. Before I kind of say that, I always tell people, man, when you enter a room or in a space, just make sure that people name because that's really the only thing you have at the end of the day is your name. So walk into those spaces and make sure that your name leave a stain on the minds of the people that you encounter. With that being said, also make sure that you create and take advantage of that moment and maybe create resources and uh, connections with those people in those rooms, in those spaces, because you don't know when this opportunity can happen again. And I truly believe that God put you in places and positions that you really aren't qualified for or to be in. And it happens time after time, and you go like, wow. So never kind of take advantage or um, yeah of that moment. Really, never. But take advantage of that moment. Let's
Right.
just say, yeah, for sure, for sure. But for me, man, being a freelance publicist, beginning, it was just that. Simply put, it was connecting with people and making sure that my name stayed in the minds of the people, and making sure that I, walk with integrity, man, for sure. And with building my podcast and building my brand just overall, that has helped. That is certainly has helped, man. So I applaud the people who, that has helped me along the way because I can't do it alone, man. It definitely is
Right.
about networking with people. Yep.
Right,
That
right.
was used to be my Twitter name. In fact, when Twitter first started back in 2010, that was my Twitter name. iNetwork.
Oh yeah.
I for sure, for sure.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, I mean, I was doing a little recording yesterday, and I was saying it's kind of hard to acknowledge something that you're doing when you're living in it. You know, when you're living in that moment. Like it's easier for somebody on the outside to say, "Hey, that's what that guy's doing." You know, so for you to get that you're a networker and kind of embrace it and run with it, I think that's great. You know, because you don't really see people anymore kind of networking. You know, it's like people, everybody wants to go viral, or everybody wants to do major things, but I think people kind of take the networking out. And I mean, and not only just for like business purposes, I mean, some people could just be good friends, positive friends in your life. Hey, when did you first start podcasting?
In 2010 is really when I started the published work, and immediately afterwards, with really no intention. Right, you and I shared this story, but I'll share it with your audience real quick. When I started the publishing thing in 2010, it was the business partner who was kind of helping me start my brand that was like, "Yo, we should start a podcast." And I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, we're booking all of our clients on these internet radio shows." Again, internet radios. I'm using that word podcast interchangeably, but really, she said we should start an internet radio show. And I was like, "Really?" And she was like, "Yeah, we're booking all of our clients on the internet radio shows, and we're hearing how it works, and people are tuning in, and blah, 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 and these platforms are pretty much successful." So, yeah, I said, let's do it. So in 2011 in Chicago, we started the Finesse Media Blog Talk Live show. And that was me and my homegirl, Tisha Soul. Tisha Soul, man, she's out of Brooklyn, New York, but she's a native of Atlanta, Georgia. Good girl, man.
All right.
So
So
2011, season 1, that's when we started.
right. So you pretty much started it before it was popular.
Listen, man, before it was popping, and it was, internet, everything was popping. I think internet, Instagram had a 15-second video, but again, they were really about just the photos. So people were really just focusing on the photos. And then if you had 15 seconds of comedy, really, because Vine had just been brought out by Facebook. So, which again is now all Instagram. But anywho, it was all new. Twitter was new. I was tweeting for a lot of my clients, and people would be like, "Yo, that celebrity's not," and because I was doing that for a couple of clients who had, high profile so status, they would, say, "Well, that's how I know they're not tweeting, because you tweeting for them on their account." I'm like, "No, but really, they were actually using their accounts to tweet, seriously." But I was just kind of the aid to help them stay current and help them stay out there, really, because people were getting into this whole social media thing. So, but now, I mean, now they're probably not even on Twitter for real. But I mean, a year later after that, they didn't even need me for that. They were all into the Twitter. So they wanted to tweet for their own selves. And Instagram grew, and Blog Talk and internet radio grew. And in 2011, we did maybe about 9 episodes. We didn't do a whole lot, but it ran from 2011. And then we ended abruptly in 2012.
Right. So, but just for those who may not know, this guy's a professional. You know what I mean? Hey, you've been podcasting. It goes back to at least 10 years.
Yeah, it is 10 years.
So if nothing else, you're a great resource to ask questions about podcasting or internet radio or pretty much almost anything, really. I mean, being a publicist. Like you're a great resource for us. And even though you seek out certain things that you want to put out to the world, you also have to pat yourself on the back and say you're a great resource for somebody yourself, even though you're putting good things out here too. So hey, I take my hat off to you.
For sure.
So one of the things that I noticed that you kind of focus on by watching some of your podcasts is you're promoting kind of like black excellence, to a certain extent. Well, to a certain extent, like you highlight a lot of people that went to HBCUs that are doing positive things today. Was that something that kind of, going to the HBCU brought out, or was that something that was already kind of in you?
Yeah, I mean, really, like it's interesting because in the beginning, it was just like, hey, let's do an internet radio show. So I was like, okay, what we're gonna talk about? So we were like live and just taking people on. And then I actually took a hiatus. So I don't want to give myself the credit that's not due for consistently for working for 10 years because I took a hiatus after 2012. I didn't come back until 2019, which was just around the corner. So for about 7 years, I was silent in the podcasting realm. I still maintained my relationships in the industry and still did some work when it was needed. But nonetheless, though, when we did come back for season 2 with my co-host Teresa Millionaire, and we had a good time, and that was really when everything was podcast world, and it was that podcast space for me, and we'd be, we put ourselves on all those different platforms. And it was then when I said to Treese, listen, man, we were both from HBCUs. And what I did before was kind of have like a talk show based internet or podcast radio show, or platform for people to come on and talk about what they're doing and just inspire, whatever. And so she and I, are alumni of Pine Bluff. And so we're also members of the Divine Nine. So a member of Phi Beta Sigma, she's a member of Sigma Gamma Rho. So we share that, that common bond. And I'm like, yo, I think it'll be a disservice if we get on this platform for season 2 and not really highlight the Black excellence of our organizations and the history, but our foundation, right? We went to this university and started off as kids who now made us professionals in this world. Let's spotlight HBCUs. And so that was an intention, seriously, I think. And when we did that every week, it would just amaze me to see how people would reach out and hit me up in the inbox and go, yo, you shouted out Elizabeth, college. Nobody ever even, spotted me out. Or if it's Tuskegee University or any other university where the alumni are rich, like FAMU and Jackson State. And, of course, our dear mother, Pine Bluff, I shouted out our university and also made a big highlight, in this past season with our queens, from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. So, it was very important for me to highlight, HBCUs each and every week, and who wants to keep hearing about my love about Pine Bluff and my pride for the Golden Lion, then each and every week. It was important for me to give that love back to the HBCU schools that I admire, I respect, and let people know that really it's the same. I mean, everybody got the Wednesday chicken dinners and the catfish Fridays. We all do it, and we all sing the song in high praise because we understand the history, we understand the tradition, and we got to keep the culture tight. And so that's what I love about being a proud alumni of an HBCU. Interesting fact, though, I didn't even know I was attending an HBCU until I was actually on campus, probably months later. Like, wait, HBCU, okay, that's because, again, I ran for the band. The band kind of confetti and popping circumstance, if you will, fell off. I was like, wait, I'm out the band. Where am I? You're at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, originally known as Greenwich Normal, formerly known as Agriculture Mechanical, you know what I mean? And now the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, the history that you're a part of, the legacy, and being, man, listen, I can go on, you understand the love, but the HBCU, definitely, my brother, you're going to see a lot more of that coming up in season 4. I have a lot of plans. I have a lot of stuff going on with HBCUs, the partnerships that we're going to be doing. So I'm gonna kick it up a notch. I'm gonna kick it up a notch, which is what I did in season 3. I didn't want to just spotlight like I did in season 2. I wanted people to come on. So in season 3, I said, listen, I'm by myself, so I'm talking to myself. 3, because I didn't have a co-host this past season. I said, listen, Jeff, I want people to understand and feel it, because me talking about Jackson State and reading a little bit of a 4-line or 6-line sentence about the history and what they are known for, that's cool. But in this season, this past season, what I wanted to do is bring the individual on for them to talk about their experience at their university. So every week, as I did most of the time, I think I probably missed maybe 1 or 2 weeks, but most every week we had 29 episodes I think. And this past season, and every week I had an HBCU on that was spotlighted, and I had a student, an alumni, or a current student talk about their experience from that current university that we were spotlighting, and that was real, and that resonated with my listeners because they heard it from the person, and it wasn't for me, and it was also good for me to hear it because I was like, wow, that really go on at your campus because it was a little bit different, if you are at the highest of the seven hills, which is what FAMU would say. It's a lot of culture at these schools. And so let me tell you, man, you're going to always hear about an HBCU if you're listening to the Finesse Media podcast.
Right,
Sure.
right. So, with me working on my podcast, of course, I'm kind of new in it. And, I got discouraged after I did my first episode. So I didn't do anything for like a few months, probably about 5-6 months after. How hard was it for you on your very first episode? Especially back in 2011.
Yeah. Well, I would be lying. I'm not going to say that it was hard at all, honestly, because coming from the public world and doing those types of things, and just me naturally being a person who could talk with anyone, and I think could resonate and try to empathize or sympathize with anyone because I'm a human being, man. So I feel, I touch, and I react, and so. Definitely. It was not something that I felt uncomfortable with doing because I felt like I can talk with anybody. But the technology, that's what I didn't understand. Because I was like, yo, I know how to get my clients on these shows, but you're telling me, you're asking me at the time, I'm talking to Tisha, my co-host. I'm like, yo, you're telling me we're going to put a show together. Now, I don't know how to do that. And so that's what kind of was the challenge. And that's what scared me in the beginning because we were going live every week. So that's was like, whoa, like the pressure's on. Like you're really jumping out here, son. Like you're jumping out here and doing the whole thing, and you're gonna go live, and people can jump on your website or they can call in. So you don't really know who's listening, how they're listening in, and yeah, for sure. So what scared me was the technology, and also just being live every week. Because if people don't show up, then what? And you done told everybody that Trina Braxton gonna come on, and then Trina Braxton don't show up. Now Trina Braxton did show up. I'm not saying Trina Braxton didn't show up, but I had those moments where the guest didn't show up, and you had to just keep the ball rolling.
Man, watching some of your podcasts, I saw you got to do an interview with one of my favorites, which is Lunel. Just because she real, she all the way real. She from Arkansas, but of course, she may claim California a little bit, but she's from Arkansas. She's actually like 10 minutes away from where I'm from. So how was it getting to sit down with one of the real queens of comedy?
The original bad girl of comedy, Lunel. Actually, man, listen. Lunel came to join me for 2 seasons, which is a dope honor. I haven't had but a few people to come back on. One of my good friends, Selena Johnson, she comes on probably every season. She was on 1, 2, and 3. She has to come on. It's almost mandatory. But Lunel came on, man, season 2, and I was only able to talk with Lunel and not able to like see her face to face as we're doing. And it was just a good time. I was really humbled by it for sure, man, because like you said, that's one of my favorite comics. She's the original bad girl of comedy. I was honored to interview her and to ask her questions. And then the second time, when I was able to see her, that was better because through our interview the first time and second interview, we had connected, on a couple of other projects, and it became a cool relationship. So to interview Lunel twice was cool, but to actually have a relationship and to partner with Lunel on some things has really been true treat of it all, man. She's a dope woman, man. She is who you see. I mean, I never hung out with Lunel because this all happened so quick. Like I interviewed her in 2019, and she came back on in 2020. So it's so quick. And then she's been in Texas a couple of times with her knee surgery. she's a dope chick, a humble chick, and who been in the game, who's a real OG in the game for sure.
Right. Yeah, and then she wears so many different hats. From the comedian, she's been in movies, TV shows. It's like, man, it's crazy. So, I just thought that was crazy because I watch all her interviews, like all of them. You know what I mean? And
Did you watch her YouTube show? Do you watch her YouTube channel?
I didn't know until watching the episode you did with her.
Yes,
And
check out our YouTube channel, man. Every Wednesday night or day, like 5 o'clock, I think, if you're in Central Standard Zone, it's about
Mhm.
4 or 5 o'clock. But hey Lunel, if you go on YouTube and
Okay.
search Hey Lunel, just subscribe and then hit the bell and you'll be notified. Bam, there you go, Lunel.
Yeah, I sure watch everything. I mean, all her Vlad interviews, I'm watching them. You know what I mean? Even though I got to watch them in like 9, 10 parts, I'm gonna watch them. But with you being a veteran podcaster, in my opinion, what's the number one tip that you would give to someone who wants to get into podcasting and be successful in it?
Just do it, man. Just do it. Really. I hosted a workshop in the spring. Well, we're still in the spring, but in March, last month, how to start your podcast with no money and no equipment, man. And really, there, I was talking to people about getting started. A lot of people had a podcast and they were just trying to get information and building on their podcast, how to grow their audience and how to monetize the podcast because, sidebar, you're not getting paid for this, Junior. So if you're really into podcasting, it must be something that you're passionate about. So that's another thing. Make sure you're finding something that you want to really talk about, and it doesn't have to be a specific topic, but making sure that you're always having your why, making sure you know why you're doing it. So I would tell anybody that if you want to start a podcast, man, just do it. If you have a cell phone, which most of us do, even our kids, for sure. And you got a pair of headsets, Bluetooth connected with the wire. It doesn't matter. You can click that button. If you go to Podbean, if you go to Anchor, you can just hit the record button and start recording. It's that simple. And there's over 2 million podcast channels. And here's a real quick fact. There's 2 million podcast channels, but since November, only 250,000 folks loaded an episode since November, which tells you that people aren't consistent. So there are 2 million. That's a quarter of folks that hasn't even uploaded anything. What that tells me is that people aren't consistent. So again, if you're going to be a podcaster, that's one of my biggest things I tell people. Make sure that you're consistent. Sidebar, anything in your life, make sure you're consistent. But nothing is worse, man, than starting something and stopping. Like, dog, I don't understand that. So if you're going to put out episodes every Wednesday, make sure you're giving your listeners that every Wednesday. And if you need to take a break, let people know you're taking a break. Because what happens in this day and age, if the butterfly comes past your eyes, people are going to chase the butterfly and they're gone. They're not even going to come back and listen to your podcast. They're not even going to come back and check your page and whatever your brand is. They're not even going to buy into you because somebody else is selling makeup and they're more consistent. They're readily available. So if you're not there and you're not consistent, you're going to lose the money that's on the table. And I'm the kind of person that says there's money on the table and somebody got to pick it up. And I ain't leaving it sitting there. And I'm not talking about just everything being about money, but I'm saying just being consistent and having that drive. Money is not my drive. It's not my motor. But I say, if you're going to do it, do it. And don't be scared to do it.
Right. It's kind of funny that you said that about, being consistent. And if you're going to take a break, like let your audience know that you're going to take a break. I followed this lady on YouTube and she had like over 40,000 subscribers and stuff. And, at some point she took a break.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since she came back, like most videos I saw, like she had hundreds of thousands of views and all that, most of them in the hundreds. And I'm like, man, it's crazy to look at her channel and see that she had got 40,000 subscribers, but almost every video that she's putting out now only gets like 400 views.
I mean, we're in the whole pandemic. I mean, so people are dealing with all types of stuff. Of course, death, because it's taken so many folks' lives. So people are emotionally, abandoned. And if your podcast was something that was giving them a light and you just turned it off, yeah, it's gonna be hard to get that customer back.
Right. I recommend anybody to check out Ken Finesse Media, check out his podcast, check out his YouTube. You also do graphic designs, correct?
Yeah, definitely. So if you need a graphic design, listen, I'm finessing the game for real, for real. So if you need a graphic design, you see my commercial coming up with Finesse Media there if you're watching. So anything that you need, if you need to edit for a video, I am that person for you, man. So I am keeping myself busy to finesse the game.
Oh yeah.
FinesseMediaGroup.com.
Oh yeah. So is there do you have any other social media handles that you want to give out if somebody wants to either follow you or get in contact with you?
Yeah, I'm Finesse Media. So FINESSEMEDIA, Finesse Media, on all platforms. That's Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. You can listen to the Finesse Media podcast. I don't know if this is the time to promote that, but you can listen to the podcast on FinesseMediaGroup.com. That's the main hub. You can listen there. You can watch there. I'm on all streaming platforms if you're listening. So Apple Podcasts, Google Play. If you're listening to me on Stitcher, Pandora, iHeartRadio, you can listen to me there. But I always say go to my website, FinesseMediaGroup.com, because you can also stay in tune with the merchandise. It's available on my website, but season 4 is coming up September the 29th. That's going to be Wednesday, as always, at 6 o'clock. We're episode 1 dropping for season 4. But the promotion shirts will drop on Finesse Media Group soon. So make sure you hit the contact button, subscribe to the website, so I can hit you up.
Oh yeah. And plus, it's always a good time to promote. So I would recommend anybody go check out your site, your YouTube. It's real good. Like as soon as I saw the website, I'm like, yeah, this is nice. This is
You know
nice.
what's so crazy, dude? Like all that just happened. Like again, all this kind of just started back in 2019, but all of like the more graphic, like the YouTube page, the website, all that really happened in 2020. And it really was a good year for me. It's kind of a what do you call it? It's imposter syndrome, if you will. You kind of have imposter syndrome saying that you had a great 2020 because so many other people didn't. And it was just really overall a jacked up year. But my 2020 was rocking. I did start a lot of this, graphic stuff with the website and with the YouTube page. And it's really, it's still growing. I work my butt off. I'm a one-man show. There's maybe one person in the background here and there that kind of assists. But I'm really putting this thing together, one-man band. And that's what I'm continuing to do. But I will say this real quick, that with the website, it will be revamped. So it will still be FinesseMediaGroup.com, but I'm so excited to drop the new website in August. That's going to drop right before the season. So that's going to be cool because I'm just getting into this space, man, that everybody want to be, they want to see what you're doing. We live in this real-time space with social media. So I want to keep giving it to the people, man. Each and every week, like I say, I give you something brand new.
Right. Well, look, hey, I appreciate you for sitting down with me, man. Let me pick your brain a little bit. And is there anything else you want to put out to the people before we end this one?
Nothing, man. I don't want to say anything, but go Lions. I don't know when this is going to air. Hopefully it already been, we won the championship. If not, we're set to play the championship this Saturday in Jackson, Mississippi. We're going against Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M too, because their band logo was created by me. They haven't officially launched it yet. I can talk, but they haven't officially launched the logo yet. So again, as I mentioned, I handle your professional logos, but the university band, Alabama A&M, I know I got a love for y'all, and I did some work for y'all, but this Saturday, Pine Bluff, the Golden Lions, we coming for that title. We coming for that W. The SWAC champions, we did it in 2012. We plan to do it again. in 2021. We coming for the crown. So that's what I want to say. Go Lions this Saturday. Rock it out. I'll be watching here from Dallas, man.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate it again, man, for you just sitting down and giving me a little bit of your time because you can't get it back. So, hey, until next time, people, we out.
Most definitely, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.